Okay, so we are here to study Masechet Sanhedrin. This is class 14. I believe I'm getting that right, but we're going to be starting on Sadi Gimel Amud Aleph at the very, very last few words of the line, but you can stay on your page, and we'll get there in a moment. The bottom of the page, Sadi Gimel Amud Aleph, go backwards one page if you can, not a big deal if you can't. It starts with Amar Bitanhum Darash Bar Kapara. So this is the Darashat Bar Kapara. One of the colleagues, kind of a Tamil Chaver of Rabbeinu HaKadosh, he lived in the days of Rabbeinu HaKadosh in Eretz Yisrael in the Galil. So this actually was given in the city of Sipori. This is a long derasha, as you will see. The derasha that Bar Kapara gives is the derasha that will occupy a lot of Gemara. So you can imagine that this was a long derasha that he gave. He gave this, as I said, in the Galil, in the city of Sipori, and it involves Ruth HaMoabiyah. Ruth HaMoabiyah is one of the most interesting stories in the Bible, because as you know, the pasuk says, Lo yavo Ammoni, and also Lo yavo Moavi bikal Hashem, that according to halacha of a Moabite converts to Judaism. Their conversion is a conversion, fair enough, they're Jewish, right? However, there's a law that Lo ba'im bakahal, we don't accept them within the midst of the Jewish people, so that they can only marry, for example, another convert, as an example. But they can't marry a regular Meyuchas Israel, right? And yet, Ruth HaMoabiyah was a question that the Chachamim dealt with. And the question being, and actually the Gemara Masechet Yevamot, I believe it was Daf Ayin, it deals with the question of David HaMelech. David HaMelech was a descendant of Ruth HaMoabiyah. So, how can that be? So the Gemara explains that the halacha is, when it says Lo Yavo Moavi, it means a male. Ruth HaMoabiyah was a female, and that's how she married Boaz. So even though she was a Moabite convert, and she married Boaz, and Boaz was Meyuchas, he was from Shevet Yehuda, he was one of the, leaders of the Jewish people, it was allowed, right? So but still, it's a little odd, isn't it? That David HaMelech will come from a Moavi, right? It's a strange situation. And here we see that in Judaism, ultimately, we judge people by their merit, right? And not by their ethnicity, right? And I think there's a certain element to David HaMelech having come from Ruth HaMoabiyah. So this is going to tell us a little about how this all started. So as you remember, Ruth HaMoabiyah, she came to Eretz Yisrael with Naomi. They're poor. They don't have any. I feel bad. I'm kind of like blocking the view here. Let me see if I can get this a little better. It's better. They're poor, and in Jewish law, if you own fields, wheat fields or orchards, whatever it is, you have to give a portion or allow a portion called pe'ah for the poor to come. And Ruth HaMoabiyah was interested in specifically the field of Boaz, because Boaz was a relative of Naomi, and she comes to him at night, and he doesn't do anything. He refuses, but he says, "If you want to marry me, let's work. We'll talk about it the next day." There was a question of who had the right to marry her, and so on. But the point being that before she left him, so that night she spent the night by his feet, let's say, and then when she leaves, the pasuk says, "Let me get my." I just realized, I'm sorry, I want to get my own hat because it has a pesukim, I believe. It should have a pesukim. And, right, okay, give me a moment. So the pasuk describes how he gives her 6 grains of barley, right? That's what the pasuk describes. So it says, Shesh haseorim ha'ele natali. He gives her 6 grains of barley. She returns back to Naomi, and she tells Naomi, he just gave me 6 grains of barley. Now, who detects something unusual in this situation? Does something seem strange here? 6 grains of barley.
The dream? No.
What do you do with 6 grains of barley? 6 grains of barley? Like teeny little seeds. Why would he give her? Why would the pasuk say that he gave her 6 grains of barley? You understand the question?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay. So that's, what did it say? So the Gemara says, "Ilema shish seorim mamash." Could it be that he gave her 6 grains of barley? Kernels, right? Kernels. Oh, that's what seeds or kernels. Yes. Does it make any sense that he would give 6 kernels? That's what type of gift is that? You can't even make nothing. What are you going to do with that? Ella shesh seim. So first the Gemara says apparently, it wasn't 6 kernels. It was 6 gallons, or whatever. I say it's actually more than a gallon. But let's say a large 6 large containers, let's say, of barley. That makes sense. But then the Gemara says a question. Does it make sense that Ruth would be able to carry with her these 6 sacks home? I mean, it's a huge amount of barley. How's she going to carry that? She's a poor lady. She didn't have Uber driver pick her up, or a donkey or a camel. She had nothing. How on earth is she going to carry these giant 6 big bags of barley? So that doesn't make sense either. So the Gemara reaches the following conclusion: Ella Ramazla. He gave her 6 kernels. Yes, the original explanation is correct. It was only 6 kernels of barley. And why did he give her 6 kernels of barley? Ramazla, as a hint, he had Ruach HaKodesh. Boaz had Ruach HaKodesh. And in the Ruach HaKodesh, he saw what's going to happen in the future. She'atirin shisha banim laset mimena. He's going to marry her, right? He marries her. And from them comes David HaMelech down the line. And it's not going to be just David HaMelech. It's going to be 6 great men are going to come from the union of Boaz and Ruth HaMoaviyah. You understand? And that's why I gave it the 6 kernels, to show these kernels are very small, and yet each kernel can produce stalks, and each stalk can produce more stalks and more stalks, and you have right? So that's why he gave it this, the se'olim, the 6 kernels. That's what the Gemara says. The Eluhen, and now we're going to say who these 6 individuals are. I'm sorry. Shesh Ramazla, She'atidin Shishabanim, Laset Mimena, Shemitparechim, Beshesh Berachot. And each one of these 6 offsprings or descendants will have 6 special berachot. So you're going to have 6 descendants, prominent people, and each of them is going to have 6 berachot. And we'll see what those berachot are. The Eluhen, but first let's see who the 6 descendants are. David HaMelech, obviously. Mashiach ben David. We're going to be studying about the Mashiach tonight. The Mashiach still didn't arrive, but Bezat Hashem soon and quickly. Joe, I was expressing a hope, a prayer. We always when we talk about the Mashiach, we always like to say B'mira b'yameinu, right? That's what we like to say. So hopefully soon. Yes. Daniel also was from Shevet Yehuda. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, those are the 3 that were thrown into the fire that we studied about in the previous classes. So we're going to be studying, and this is the derasha. It must have been an amazing derasha. Bar Kapara in C14, giving this derasha in front of the public, and everybody is enjoying these words of Torah that he's going to be that he spoke, and it's all recorded in the Gemara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shekol nidaro. Amen. Okay, so let us continue reading the Gemara. All right, so let's see, what's the first one? The first one was David HaMelech, right? So let's start with David HaMelech. David, Tichtiv, V'ya'an Ehad Mehanne'arim V'yomer. Okay, let me tell you what's happening here. Here's the situation. Shaul was supposed to eradicate Amalek. Shemuel HaNavi comes to Shaul. Shemuel is a prophet, Shaul is a king. Shemuel comes to him and he says, you must eradicate Amalek. So Shaul, he goes to war, he kills the Amalekites, he almost finishes the job. Only thing is he doesn't enter Rafiach, if I may. They all say telling Israel, okay, now we want to cease fire. You're joking. They're about to destroy Hamas, right? They want to cease fire. Okay. I mean, it's not very intelligent, right? Let's just put it that way. They want to cease fire. So he did everything but destroy, go to Rafiach. Meaning, what actually happened is Agag, the king, for some reason, when Shaul saw him, he had some rahmanut on him. He felt bad. And also, Amalek had some beautiful sheep. And he didn't want to say, why? Let's use the sheep to bring korbanot to Hashem. Let's maybe give Agag a chance. It's a type of Jewish sickness, which unfortunately many people have this sickness. It's a psychological sickness where we look at the enemy and somehow we have compassion on our enemy. It's a sickness because it's horrible. It ends up that instead of destroying the enemy once and for all, they come back and then they do horrible things. I saw this song in after October 7th, but many beautiful things in Israel. A less beautiful thing, I saw this song. It was a bunch of leftists filling up an auditorium, maybe 1,000, and the singer and the new song, how love, what's missing is love. Love will, fill the void between chaos and confusion, and we have to wait for the love to come. I'm sure Hamas, they also have people on their side singing about love, no question. And it's a sick. And I feel bad for these people because they're fundamentally ill. They're not just naive, and they're going to be horribly disappointed in their lives. Many of the people who lived in those kibbutzim in Gaza, they had the same type of sentiments, and they invited the Palestinians to their houses as a guest, and it ended up those Palestinians were there taking notes, how many bedrooms, how many people in each room, how to enter the house, where the side doors are, and part of the massacre was a result of that love, that we're all waiting for the love. So it's a sickness, it happens to Jews sometimes, and apparently Shaul HaMelech was struck by this sickness, so he didn't kill Agag. The Hachamim said that night, Agag had relations with a woman, and then the Amalekite seed continued, as it still is alive today. Be that as it may, Shemuel HaNavi, he comes to Shaul and he says, what did you do? And he says, I fulfilled the instructions of God. He told me to go to war with Amalek. He says, but I hear sheep. I hear sheep. What is that sheep that I hear? He says, well, I didn't want to kill all the sheep because I figured let's bring in korbanot. And did you kill everybody? Well, Agag is still alive. So Shemuel personally went to kill Agag. He took a sword, he killed Agag himself. And he told Shaul, because of this, the kingdom is going to be torn away from you. There's a tragic story. Shaul is a figure that I love very much. Honestly, a tragic story with Shaul. So the Tanakh says that the spirit of madness entered Shaul's mind. To be more precise, Shemuel HaNavi, I'm sorry?
Paranoid.
Yeah, so Shemuel HaNavi went to Bethlehem and he found David HaMelech and he anointed David HaMelech to be the king. And at that moment that the Spirit of God descended upon David in Bethlehem, a spirit of paranoia, it says Ruach Ra'ah, an evil spirit of madness descended upon Shaul. He became very, very nervous and very scared and agitated, and he didn't know what to do to relax. He became crazy. So what happens is his advisors tell him, look, we got to find somebody for you to play music. Back then there was no radio, but they understood that music can be very therapeutic and very pleasing. Let's find somebody to play music for you. So that's where this is taking place. So one of the king's attendants was there, and he says as follows, Hinera iti ben leishai. I know that Ishai has a son, David. Bet Alachmi, Ishai Bet Alachmi, because he was from the city of Bethlehem. Bethlehem. So Ishai Bet Alachmi. His son, Yodean again. Now let's count how many things there are, because we said it's supposed to be 6, right? So hopefully I get the counting right here. Yodean again, number 1. Yodean again means he's a musician. He plays a musical instrument beautifully, right? The Gibor Hayil. Gibor Hayil means very courageous. He doesn't back down. He's not afraid of anything. Ish Melchama, it's one thing to be courageous. You can be courageous and stupid, or you can be courageous and you're a great tactician. So this person is a great tactician. He knows how to do the war tactics, right? Navon Davar means he's a person that if you go to him and you ask him a question, advice, he's a great person to ask advice from. The Ish Toar means very handsome. So therefore, why is it important that he's handsome? It's going to be in the presence of the king in the palace. You want to respect the palace, you want to respect the king, so somebody's handsome. And finally, V'Hashem Immo, God is with him. So that's what they're telling Shaul about David. I'm going to read the pasuk again. ויען אחד מהנערים ויאמר הנה ראיתי בן לישי בית הלחמי. יודע נגן, number 1. וגיבור חיל, number 2. ואיש מלחמה, number 3. ונבון דעת, number 4. ואיש תור, number 5. אדוני עמו. So this, we said 6 for each one of them. So these are the 6 qualities that this person has. So what happened? ואמר רבי יהודה, אמר רב, כל הפסוק הזה לא אמרו דואג, אלא בלשון הרע. This is one of the great things. Lashon hara. So we know lashon hara, of course, is when you speak evil about somebody. Now, you can be a very clever person. Let's say I know you're in real estate. So I know you're trying to do commercial real estate. So I'm going to tell you about another person. This guy is unbelievable. You don't understand. He gets all the good deals. He gets the best rates from the bank. He knows how to find, locate properties, and he does things unbelievable. You're telling all these things, and in your mind, you're listening to this, and it's a type of lashon hara because I'm telling it to you because I know it's going to get you a little triggered, right? That's lashon hara. So you can be speaking good about somebody, and it's still lashon hara. Who are you saying it to? What are you saying, right? Yeah. So this Doeg HaEdomi, he was a very shrewd and evil person. We'll see why soon. I think we can just bring it later on. I think in the Gemara we're going to... Okay, Doeg HaEdomi was the one who incited Shaul HaMelech to kill all the Kohanim in Nov Eir HaKohanim. It was a horrible, maybe the most horrible, crazy thing he did was to kill all the Kohanim. All the Kohanim were in the city of Nov. That's where the Mishkan was. And he massacred them. Kohanim. So this guy Doeg was a lowlife. He's one of the people that we mentioned way back when we first started studying Masachet Sanhedrin. She'eno chelek le'olam haba. That was Doeg HaEdomi. So this Doeg, he was trying to create this situation where Shaul would be jealous of David. He wanted to make a fight because if you're a smart person, you always want to weaken the king. You weaken the king by creating dissension and tension within the ranks, and then you take advantage of that dissension and tension for your own benefit. So this is what Doeg is doing. But nevertheless, the whole thing was lashon hara. And he makes a derasha. What does it mean, Yodea Nagen? What does it mean that he knows how to play the instrument? Sheyodea lish'ol. Nagen milashon lish'ol, meaning he knows how to ask the right questions related to Torah. If you're studying a topic in Torah, he knows to identify questions and faults in your particular line of reasoning. That's number 1. Yodea Nagen. Gibor. What does it mean, Gibor? He said Gibor Chayil. That was the second one. Sheyodea lehashiv. He also knows how to answer questions. So if you ask him a question, some people are very good at poking holes in your argument, but they're not very good at defending their position. No, he knows how to defend his position very well. Ish milchama. Sheyodea lisav means he knows how to fight the war of Torah. He's a great defender of the Torah. Sometimes you have a person who knows Torah very well, but he's a horrible speaker, and because of that, he can't express himself eloquently. But some people are very eloquent in the way they speak, and then they know how to defend the Torah accordingly. Ish Torah, what does it mean? Beautiful, handsome person. Shemar'eh panim b'halacha. He also can explain to you the reasoning of any halacha in a very simple or very palatable manner. Sometimes he asks, what's a halakha? They'll give you magic, heebie-jeebies. Or maybe you go to somebody else, they'll give you an intelligent explanation. Why do we do it this way? So mar'eh panim b'halacha means you give an intelligent explanation for the halachot, right? Unvon davar. Navon davar, shemevin davar mituch davar. If you tell him one thing, he knows how to extrapolate something else from what you told him, right? So he has that type of dynamic knowledge where he's always thinking and generating new ideas. V'Hashem imo, and then he said God is with him. What does it mean God is with him? Shehalacha kemoto bechol makom. Always the halacha is like him. He's inspired, he understands things correctly, and if he says the halacha is as it is, the halacha is as it is. So now Shaul is hearing this, and he's getting a little nervous. Now don't forget, Shaul had a son who was going to be the prince. He was going to be the king after Shaul. His name was Yonatan, Jonathan. This Yonatan was about David HaMelech's age. Now what happened? So Shaul is hearing this. Doeg HaEdomi is speaking to him. Bekulhu Amalehu, every single one of the first 5 out of 6 things. Shaul HaMelech says, yeah, Yonatan ben Ikama, also my son, it's just like that. My son Yonatan is knows how to ask questions, knows how to answer questions, knows how to defend the Torah, eloquent, all that, everything, he has it. Once he told them that the halacha is always like David, he himself, Shaul, knew that he doesn't have that quality. He, the king Shaul, doesn't have it. His son certainly doesn't have it. Halash data, he began to get a little scared. He began to get a little depressed, a little upset. The ikneya be, and he became jealous of David. Shaul Kativ, there's a pasuk in Shaul, it says as follows: whatever Shaul did, he would be marshia. Now let me explain to you the peshat of the pasuk. Let me tell you what the pasuk says. It says that when Shaul became king, he became the ruler over Israel. And he made war against all the enemies of Israel, Moab, Ammon, that's where Jordan is, Edom, that's southern Jordan, that's Syria, Pelishtim, that's where Azar is. Wherever Shaul meant, he was Yarshia. What does Yarshia mean? He would make things bad for the enemies, right? He would shake up the enemies. The derasha here, Yarshia, milashon rasha, meaning he would make a mistake. He would always end up making mistakes in halakha. That's the derasha of the Gemara. And with David it says, "Vahi David lechol derachav maskil v'Adonai immo ubchol asher yifnei asliach." David HaMelech, whatever he did, God was with him. And when he would study the Torah and reach a conclusion, he would always be zochet to reach the correct conclusion in the halacha. So this is the power of Doeg HaEdomi, that he was able to twist Shaul HaMelech's mind against David, and he hated him. Now, just so you know, although David HaMelech was told by Shemuel, you're going to be the next king, he said, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything to become king. Meaning, Shaul is king, and he's going to stay king, and that whatever happens, happens, but I'm not taking over the kingdom. He had tremendous nobility. He refused to do, and Shaul was constantly chasing David HaMelech, wanted to kill him, but David HaMelech did nothing against Shaul, just so you know. It's an incredible story. It's described in the book of Shemuel. Nevertheless, that's where they met, so to speak. And it says that David HaMelech would play the instrument, and there was actually an incident where Shaul took the spear while David was playing the musical instrument, and he tried to kill him, and so somehow David HaMelech was able to escape. Be that as it may, it was a very rough, contentious relationship. Menalan de Doeg. How do we know that when the pasuk says previously that one of the attendants of the king said, I know somebody who can play the music for you, how do we know that attendant was Doeg? It just says, Ehad mehan ne'arim. Ehad mehan ne'arim can be anybody, or one of the attendants. Ehad mehan ne'arim. So the Gemara says, it's a derasha, it's not the peshat, of course. It says, Vayan Ehad mehan ne'arim. It says that one of the ne'arim spoke to the king about King David, right? About David. David wasn't the king, obviously, right? He was an unknown at that point. What does it mean, Ehad mehan ne'arim? So the word Ehad means one, but it also means meyuchad, unique. Now, when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, we don't only mean to say that there's one God, we mean to say that he's meyuchad, that he's unique, that there is nothing like this God. Very important that you know that, right? It's not enough to know there's one God. You need to understand that this one God is unique, it's completely different than anything else. So the idea of Echad being meyuchad, there's a point to it, right? So Vayan Echad me'anei means this person was unique. How was he unique? Uchtivatam vesham ish me'abdei Shaul. That's the incident. So what happened is this is later on when David HaMelech was running away for his life because Shaul wanted to kill him. So this is when David goes to Nov Ila Kohanim. And when he goes to Nov Ila Kohanim, he tells the Kohen Gadol, he says, look, I'm on a mission. The Kohen Gadol didn't know that Shaul and David were on the outs. You know, they're Kohen Gadol. They're living in the there's no internet. There's no, I don't know, New York Post or whatever. They don't know anything. So David HaMelech, at this point in time, was the son-in-law of Shaul, and he was Shaul's star general. He comes to Novi HaKohanim. He says, look, I'm on a mission. I need food. He was going to starve to death. He didn't eat and he was starving. So the Kohen tells him, well, the only bread we have is the lechem hapanim, which is holy. It's holy. It's for the Kohanim. Only the Kohanim can eat it. He says it's pikuach nefesh. Let me eat it. And anyway, while he's getting food and provisions from, also the sword of Goliath was there. The sword of Goliath was there. So he said, let me have the sword. Present at the time. Don't forget, this is a Mishkan. Now people used to come to the Mishkan to bring korbanot. At the time when this happened, Doeg HaEdomi was there. So the pasuk says, Vesham ish me'avdei Shaul. As David and the Kohen Gadol are talking, Doeg HaEdomi was there. Bayom hu ne'isar lifnei Adonai u'shmo Doeg HaEdomi avir haro'im asher leShaul. This Doeg HaEdomi was the chief or the head herdsman of Shaul. The Hachamim say, what does it mean, avir haro'im? He was head of the Sanhedrin. He was considered Gadol Hador. Interesting that the person who's Gadol Hador in the Torah could also be the most evil person. Very interesting, no? Fascinating. So they say Avir HaRo'im means he was the head of all the other shepherds. The leaders of the Jewish people are called shepherds. So meaning he was head of the Sanhedrin. So this person is there. He's probably bringing korbanot, right? And he overhears a conversation. He sees that the Kohen Gadol is giving David food, is giving David Goliath's sword. Now Chazit, the Kohen Gadol doesn't know anything. And David and Doeg HaEdomi knows that the Kohen Gadol doesn't know anything. It doesn't matter. So what he does is he goes back to Shaul and he tells Shaul, I want you to know that the Kohanim, they just helped David. And when Shaul found out, he went to Novi Kohanim and he basically told them, you helped David, didn't you? He says, well, it's your son-in-law. What do you mean? He's your general. He says, no, I want you to, he tells his soldiers, I want you to kill every single Kohen. Now they're standing there. They know the guys, kill a Kohen, like you don't kill a Kohen. Kill all the Kohanim. And they refuse to do it. And finally, Doeg HaEdomi says, I'll do it. And he kills everybody. So it's crazy story. But anyway, so this person, Ahad HaNe'arim, this was a unique person. What's unique about Doeg HaEdomi? On the one hand, he's Avir HaRo'im, Gadol Hador. On the other hand, the most evil person, the most insidious person you can imagine. Right? All right. So that was the first one. So we just did David HaMelech. Now we're going to do the next one, Mashiach. Everybody wants to hear about the Mashiach. We'll stop here. No, I'm kidding. All right. Mashiach. Dichtiv. Benaha alav ruach. Okay, let me go to the pasuk in Yeshaya. I'm going to read to you the pasuk before, so you get the full context. This pasuk, it says, I'm reading the pasuk that you don't see in the Gemara. The pasuk right before is talking about the Messianic era. It says, Ve'asa holten megeza yishai. Let me explain to you. Imagine you have a tree, and then you cut the tree, and it looks like the tree is dead. So yeah, the tree is dead. That's it, halas. And then suddenly, on the side, you see like a branch growing from the roots, from underground. That's a hoter. So hoter is like a stick, and the neser is like the branch that grows outside, right? Meaning, the Goyim, they went into Israel, the Romans went in, they massacred the Jews. Whoever was still alive was taken to Rome, wherever they were taken. Certainly the kingdom of David is over, right? No more kingdom of David. But one day in the far future, thinking the kingdom of David is over, but the trunk is still alive. The roots underground are alive. So it says, Ve'yasa hoter migeza yishai, Veneser, that branch on the side of the trunk suddenly grows out, mishorasha bifre, because the roots are still filled with life. And on this branch, which is the Mashiach, the pasuk says, Venaha alav. No, it's not Venaha, it's Venah. Is it Venaha? Where's that? Give me I think it's a mistake. Mechila, I just want to check. Yeshaya Perek Yod Aleph. Just give me, I don't like reading the pasukim incorrectly. So I'm just going to open it up. Perek Yod Aleph, Pasuk of Yisrael. Let's see, first of all.
The Nekudot here say Benacha.
Benacha or Benacha? You see what I'm saying? Is it Milera or Milael? So it says, okay. Benacha, Mechila, I was wrong. Benacha alav uruach Adonai. Okay, that's what it says. Benacha. It's not Benacha. Benacha. Okay. Benacha alav ruach Adonai. Okay? And then the Spirit of God will descend upon this person. What does that mean? Ruach Chokhmah, Ubina, Ruach Isa, Ugvura, Ruach Da'at, Yirat Adonai. Let's count again. This Spirit of God, what does the Spirit of God consist of? Chokhmah, 1, Bina, 2, Isa, 3, Gevura, 4, Da'at, 5, Yirat Hashem, 6. You see that? That's 6. Okay. So now let's see what this means. So Benacha alav ruach Adonai. Ruach chokhmah. Chokhmah means a person who has original thinking. Most people don't have original thinking. They don't know how to analyze things independently. We all use words, and words have whatever particular meaning society gives to it, and that's it. You're a racist. Why are you racist? Because everybody says you're a racist, so you're a racist, right? But what's the connection between this and racism? There is none. It doesn't matter. Don't ask that question. That makes you a worse racist if you ask that. You're a white. You're by definition a racist. Why? The fact that you're asking that only proves that you're a racist. So people, right, but it's true. What am I saying? I didn't make anything up now, right? So the point is that Ruach Chokhmah means you know how to analyze things independently of the constraints that society wants to put on us. So society uses language in a very specific way, and you can see through the farce. It's all farcical, right? So that's Ruach Chokhmah. Okay. Bina. Bina means, so Chokhmah means you have independent, original thinking. Bina means you know how to apply that thinking intelligently. Not everybody knows how to apply that thinking. What do you do with it? So I identify that society today is basically one big mental institution. It used to be that they keep the mental people in Bellevue Hospital. Now there is no more Bellevue Hospital. It's just what we live in Bellevue Hospital. What are you going to do about it? I don't know. Okay, Bina means you know what to do about these things, right? A lot of people have original thought, but they don't know what to do. Bina means you actually can think of a plan to do something. So the Mashiach is going to come, he's going to be brilliant, but he's also going to know what to do, right? That's great. All right. Ruach Hisa means if there's a problem, he knows how to think about a solution to the problem. Gevura, courage. Gevura means he doesn't care what people think or say or do. He's gonna have the courage to do what's correct. Ruach Da'at. Da'at means a mature type of knowledge. As you get older, you become more mature. You become more sensitive. You understand things. When you're young, everything is there. When you're older, you're Be'at Adonai, finally, and fear of God, true fear of God. So that's what this pasuk says. I just want to read to you the next pasuk because we're going to be looking at the next pasuk in the Gemara itself. And I want to give you the full picture of the Mashiach. This is a little unusual, but it says, I'm just reading the pasuk. Make of it what you will. The pasuk says, "V'haricho be'yirat Adonai." Milashon reach. He's going to see a person. He's going to be able almost like to smell instinct, whether that person is a phony baloney or really has Yirat Hashem. He's going to be able to look at just in the presence of the person, he's going to detect, is this real? Or is this guy just full of it? He's going to find out a lot of people are full of it, unfortunately. Yeah. He's not going to be impressed by the way you look. Yeah, I have a long beard, this and that. Right? It doesn't influence him because his brain is going to be able to somehow pierce through almost to the brain of the other person. So he's going to see what's really happening, right? And he's not going to be impressed by using particular words, You're talking away like you're a big rabbi. It doesn't impress him. He's going to know the truth. You're not going to be able to fool the Mashiach. So don't try to fool him. And finally, I'm just going to read two more pesukim. There's a lot of pesukim about the Mashiach, but I just want to read the ones that are pertinent to the Gemara, which was what we're going to be reading now. So let's just read these few pesukim. V'shafat besedek dalim. The beautiful thing about the Mashiach is the purpose of the political establishment is to oppress people, right? That's the purpose of the political establishment, is to ensure that people, that there is no middle class, The people should be miserable because if they're miserable, they need the political establishment to help them live. So we'll give you a lifeline. We won't let you suffocate. We'll give you some air. The vision of the future of America is we're all going to be with our virtual reality, whatever glasses we have, sitting down in our houses. This is how we do like different COVID, like lockdowns every few days, every few weeks, every few months, another lockdown. I think today is Wednesday. I'm allowed to order pizza Domino. I'll press the button in my virtual reality. They bring some pizza Domino. I get a discount because I didn't leave my house in 7 days. So I get a 5% discount on pizza Domino, unlimited Netflix, more pizza, more Netflix. This is the vision of the future. And meanwhile, the rich people are going to be feeding us bugs while they're going to be eating real, actually Wagyu steaks, and flying around the world, dumping carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Well, we have to be stuck at home. We can't use our cars. The electric cars are not going to work. It turns out that electric cars actually cause more environmental damage than regular cars. It doesn't matter. They don't care. It's all a sketch. It's all pretend. So the Mashiach is going to be the one ruler in the world that is going to take the oppressed. Was that a nice vision, by the way, of the future of America? Right? Yeah, right. Hopefully kosher pizza, but nevertheless, okay. The Mashiach is going to be the one person who takes the oppressed and he brings them some justice in their lives. He's going to take those people who have humility, who can't defend themselves, and he's going to lift them up. And if there's going to be evil people in the world, he's going to destroy them with his mouth. He's going to have this power that if he just utters something with his mouth, he's going to be a Rasham Nerusha, he's going to say something. That's it. It's going to be over. Nothing left to the person. That's a Mashiach, right? So he's going to be close to God, and he's going to say something, and if he sees a person, it's going to be nothing left to that person. Okay, this is going to be a person who is interested in equity for all. Okay, that's the pasuk about the Mashiach. Here, looking in the Gemara, going back to the Gemara, which is now you have kind of some of the context or the background for what the Sugya is saying. Now let's see how the Sugya analyzes this pasuk. Okay. Mashiach תכתיב בנחה עליו רוח אדוני, רוח חוכמה ובינה, רוח עיסה וגבורה, רוח דעת ביראת אדוני, וכתיב והריחו ביראת אדוני. He's going to be able to smell, meaning instinct, whether the guy really has יראת שמיים or is just full of it. אמר רבי אלכסנדרי מלמד שהטעינו מסוות וייסורים כרחיים. What does it mean והריחו? והריחו והריחו What does it mean that he'll be able to smell? So he gives it a different explanation. He says, Vahariho is not smell, like reach, in Hebrew it's reach. He gives it a different one. He says, no, it's in Lashon rechaim. Vahariho means rechaim. So what is it, rechaim? Rechaim is a water mill. So you put the seeds in the mill, and then it could be the water turns the stones around, and the stones, they crush the seeds, and then it turns into flour, right? So he says that God is going to put the Mashiach in sort of a mill. He's going to give him many, many misvot, but a lot of suffering, so that he comes out, because a person isn't just born the Mashiach. I think Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't born Moshe Rabbeinu. He suffered immensely. He was taken away from his parents. He had to be raised with the Pharaoh and this, Egyptian aristocracy, which is probably repulsive to him. He sees his people suffering. He wants to help his people. And then the Jews are the ones who turn him into the Pharaoh. Just think of that for a second. He finally runs away to Midian, probably broken. Who knows what was going on in his mind. They said, that's it, I've had it. He has to go back. All right. So Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't just Moshe Rabbeinu. He was in the mill, so to speak. So he's saying that the Mashiach is not just going to be the Mashiach. Baharicho, God is going to put him in the mill, and he's going to go through these challenges and misvot and more responsibility. And eventually, out of that is going to come the Mashiach. That's the point of Rabbi Alexandri. Rava disagrees. Rava Amar, Baharicho be'irat Adonai means smell. Demorach, I don't know how to say reach. Demorach umariach. Demorach v'da'in. No. That people are going to come for judgment. So the king, David HaMelech, for example, Shlomo HaMelech, they were also judges. So when there was a hard case, they would come to David HaMelech or to Shlomo, and he would try to resolve it, right? So he would be able to look at a person, and he knows immediately if the person is lying or telling the truth, on the spot. right? And then he will make a judgment accordingly. Tichtiv velo lemarei einav yishpot. And that's what the pasuk says. He's not going to judge based on what he sees or what he hears. He's going to judge because he's going to immediately what the truth is. He's going to read the guy's mind and say, why are you lying to me? Because, okay, I'm sorry. He doesn't want to get killed, right? It's like, right? And that's why he's going to be able to remove the oppressed from their oppressors, because they can't defend themselves. But now the Mashiach is going to see what's really happening, and he's going to save them, right? All right. So where we have to? Okay. A very interesting story. This is a really interesting story. You know, let me explain to you what happened. So the Bet HaMikdash, the second Bet HaMikdash, was destroyed in the year 68 CE. They say it was the year 70, but according to our counting, it's actually 68. Okay. 68 towards the end of the year 69. Okay. What happened is that the Roman general, I believe it was Hadrian, he comes to Jerusalem decades later. I could be off here, but I think it was about 50 years, like around the year 130, something like that, 130. And the Jews in Jerusalem are thinking that he's going to allow them to rebuild the temple. Don't forget, the temple was destroyed in the year 68, and they're all waiting when are we going to be able to rebuild it. The Romans, when are they going to finally let us rebuild the Bet HaMikdash? So he comes back, and what he wants to do is he wants to build like a temple for idolatry there. And now when the Jews find out, they're enraged, as well they should be, and they start a revolution against Hadrian. They start a revolution against Romans, and they're so enraged that the Romans keep sending one division after another division, and every single division is destroyed. And finally, the Romans send this huge, crazy division, and they destroy them also. So now there was a Jewish general. His name was Bar Kochva. Here he's called Bar Koziva, the son of the liar, meaning he was a liar. Explain that in a moment. His real name was Bar Kochva. Now, by the way, we have actual. Let me put this a little lower. I realize it's just blocking there. That's better, I think. Okay. We have actual coins that they found with his signet on it, Bar Kochva. So this is all historical. We're the colonizers. I mean, it's just, you know, how unbelievably ignorant do you have to be to call Jews colonizers in the land of Israel? It's really astounding. Anyway, so Bar Kochva, he was a very powerful general. He was the one who was defeating the Romans. Apparently he was a brilliant tactician and military strategist as well. And what happened is that Rabbi Akiva believed in him. Rabbi Akiva believed that he was a Mashiach. He believed that he was going to build the Bet HaMikdash and redeem the Jewish people. And there's different legends that the Gemara brings about what Bar Kochva's power, what they were able to do. I'm giving you one example. They say that if you wanted to join the army of Bar Kochva, you had to be able to ride a horse quickly, and as you're riding the horse, pass by a tree and uproot it, something of that nature. So Bar Kochva, Rabbi Akiva believed he was the Mashiach, apparently. It ended up he wasn't the Mashiach, because eventually Hadrian got so upset that he realized that the Roman Empire was in danger, because if the Jews, which is a small little province, is able to destroy the Roman army, the other provinces will revolt against Romans. So he realized he better do something. So they changed the whole strategy of the war. What really happened is, and I'll tell you, so from this perspective of the Romans, they changed the strategy, whatever the strategy was. They used fires to burn, because the army was hiding underground, and they used fire to basically suffocate. The different strategies the Romans used. What happened is that Rabbi Eliezer HaModai, he was a Tana in those days. He was a great Hacham. And Bar Kochva mistakenly thought that Rabbi Eliezer HaModai was on the side of the Romans. There were some Jews who didn't want to fight the war, and he thought that he was on the side of the Romans, so he kicked them and killed them. Not intentionally, I don't think he intentionally killed him, but he kicked him, the Gemara says, and he died. And the Gemara says that Rabbi Eliezer HaModai, he was the one who was praying for the success of Bar Kokhba, and when he killed Rabbi Eliezer HaModai, it was over. There was the prayer was gone, and that's when the Romans came and they just defeated the Jewish army. Now, what happened is he was called Bar Koziva, because it ended up he wasn't the Mashiach, right? He wasn't the Mashiach, and but it was the worst massacre in all of Jewish history, was when the Romans, and that's when Masada happened and that whole thing. So Bar Koziva is a bad way of calling Bar Kokhba because he wasn't the Mashiach. So what happened is Malach Tarten Shenin Ufalga. He ruled for 2.5 years. For 2.5 years, he was being unbelievably successful against the Romans. Amaliu Lerabanan Ana Mashiach. He said, "Look, I'm the Mashiach." So following, they decided to test him. Amrule, they told him as follows: "The Mashiach ketiv de moreach v'da'in." The pasuk says, "V'haricho be'irat Adonai." That you should be able to, through your instinct, you should be able to judge, right? Yachzeh anan. Let's test you. Imoreach v'da'in. Are you able to understand just by looking? You understand something by looking into the mind. They realized that he's a phony, and they killed him. It doesn't mean they killed him literally. It means that they stopped praying for him, as I said, and at that point, basically, he was killed by the Romans, probably in a horrible manner. So that's about the Mashiach. Just another word about the Mashiach. There is a lesson to learn about Bar Kokhba or Bar Koziva, however you want to call him. Hazid, I can only feel sympathy for what happened to him, or empathy perhaps. But nevertheless, there's a very important lesson about Bar Kokhba, and the lesson is as follows. Everybody said, this guy's a Mashiach, that guy's a Mashiach, that guy's a Mashiach. There's a couple things about the Mashiach. Number one, he has to actually be alive, right? So if you're dead, you're not the Mashiach. Okay, we know Bar Kokhba was alive at the time, and after he was dead, they realized he wasn't the Mashiach. So that's number one. If you don't have a pulse, not the Mashiach. Okay. Number two, you have to be a military leader, right? You have to be a military leader. If you're not a military leader, you're not the Mashiach. Meaning, yes, the Mashiach will be unbelievable in his chokhmah, in his yirat shamayim, in his Torah, 100%. But you also have to be a military leader. If you know nothing about war, if you know nothing about any of these matters, you can't be the Mashiach. So the Mashiach is not just some big rabbi. It's rather some tremendous human being with unbelievable spiritual level and power, and also a tremendous leader, right? So that's important to know about the Mashiach. All right? Well, let's stop here. I think we're good, right? We said a lot. It was like a big, a big thing. Are there any questions before I shut my camera?
Are you going to continue on with the character traits of the Mashiach next week?
Would you like me to? Because I have a lot more to say. If you think it's an interesting topic, maybe next week we can read what Hanambam says about the Mashiach. But remind me to do that. Okay? All right.